I'm crying, missing my lover. I don't have that power. Hold my side forever. Oh, where is my lover? And I got no power. I'm standing alone, nowhere. Going out your
Hey, what's up guys? So it's time for my Attack on Titan Chapter 103 discussions. I've been reading your comments guys, and it's clear we have a lot more to talk about when it comes to this chapter and the chapters preceding it. Now in case you don't already know, I typically split these discussions into 3 or 4 parts dedicated to different topics, since my discussions tend to be pretty long. So if you've been enjoying my content, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss my future videos on this chapter. We'll be discussing Armin, Zeke, and Levi, and whatever these references to time are supposed to mean. We seem to be counting down to something really big. Could it be the coordinate? Is Eren going to unleash the Wall Titans on the world to save Paradis? We'll be talking about all that in future discussions, so make sure you don't miss those. But for now, let's jump into this discussion. Now, I'm going to start these off right at the end of this chapter, because we need to talk about Jean. What's gonna happen to Jean? A lot of people have been speculating that Jean is going to die, referring to an eerily similar scene back from the Uprising arc, when Armin had to shoot some random military police chick before she popped a cap in that horse-faced bastard. But anyway, before we get to discussing the possibilities of what might happen in the next chapter, I just want to take a moment to talk about Jean, because I haven't really talked about him at all on this channel. So before we get into this, I really want to take a closer look at his character arc. Now, despite the fact that I've never really mentioned him before, I think Jean is actually a really interesting character. You know, he's this guy who at first really didn't give a shit about anything. He just wanted to join the military police so he could live a comfortable life in the interior. But once he saw what they were up against, just what a dire threat the Titans actually were, his character went through a dramatic change. Despite being someone you would expect to run away from the situation, Jean couldn't run away. He felt compelled to stay and fight with the Survey Corps, despite his overwhelming fear. And a lot of that had to do with Marco. Remember Marco? Just for a refresher, Marco was an annoyingly upbeat character who claimed he wanted to give life and limb for the king. Jean and Marco became friends during their time as cadets, and his words were a pivotal influence in Jean's decision to join the Survey Corps. Marco tells Jean that he has what it takes to be a leader, because he knows what it's like to be weak, which is a really interesting line because there is truth to that. Truly great leaders have always started from a place of great weakness and great suffering, but it's that experience that gives them the wisdom and strength it takes to be a leader. Coupled with Jean's personality type, Marco saw something in him that he didn't see in himself, that he had everything it took to do just that. Despite Jean clearly being skeptical of his own abilities, he took Marco's words to heart, and Marco's death soon after marked yet another integral moment for Jean's character, solidifying himself on his new path with Marco's words echoing through his head anytime he began to doubt himself. And as we see in the latest chapter, Jean's leadership role in the Survey Corps has been completely realized. It appears from this latest battle that Jean is the one calling the shots, not Levi, which is interesting. This either means that Levi made Jean second in command for his squad, or Jean has been promoted to captain, and our team is actually his squad now. Maybe it's just me, but Squad Jean just doesn't really have the same ring to it. But anyway, so at the very end of this chapter, in the very last panels, Pike has been devastated. Her Titan is lying on the ground in pieces. Jean's coming in for the final blow, but at the very last second, Falco comes running out and stands in his way, and then it just fucking ends right there. Fuck you, Mong. Okay, so what's gonna happen, guys? This is a crazy scenario right now, and it looks very likely that someone might die, other than Pike. So who's it gonna be? Let's get into it. So the first and most obvious possibility, and the first person that I was worried about, was of course Falco. He runs out in the middle of all of this and gets in Jean's way, trying desperately to save Pike's life, and Jean's got a freaking thunder spear pointed right at his fucking face. So the question is, will this stop Jean, or will he just go ahead and shoot Falco and Pike at the same time and just kill them right there? My first gut reaction is Jean would never do that. However, I thought that about Armin and the nuke, and Eren and attacking the festival, and I was sure fucking wrong about those things. But considering this, and considering how things seem to be going, unfortunately I can actually see this happening now. We've already had 2 kids die and a nuclear explosion, so the gloves are fucking off. But what would be really important about this scene if this really did happen and Falco really did die at the hands of Jean? That would be so messed up. That would be even more messed up than Zofia and Udo's death, because those were more collateral damage. Eren didn't specifically target them, but in this case, Jean has got Falco right in front of him. He's looking at him, and there's a big difference in the human brain when you are looking at your victim as opposed to not seeing them, obviously. I mean, how do you think Light Yagami got as far as he did? So this is a big deal, and I think if Jean did kill Falco, what that would do would just completely solidify the Survey Corps as the bad guys of this story now. And Isayama did say that he did want to make our main characters feel like the bad guys, which is amazing and kind of brilliant, but imagine this. Imagine this happens and the Survey Corps and Paris achieve their goal. They devastate the Marley, leaving it in ruin, maybe even taking the rest of the Titans back with them. And after seeing all this, after seeing Zofia and Udo, and then Jean literally just kill Falco with his own hand, so to speak, I mean, would anybody really feel good about that? Does anybody feel good about this right now? I mean, I'm sure some of you guys do because, revenge, but this is messed up, man. But I mean, am I the only one who just feels a little bit of a pit at the bottom of my stomach imagining this scenario? This is really such incredible storytelling because, honestly, if an author's job is to get their readers to feel something, Isayama has succeeded tenfold. I've got so many mixed emotions about our characters right now and what they're doing, and it's just so amazing how he's managed to make this entire manga such a fascinating exploration of the human mind and soul, and the human will to survive, and human nature, and stuff like that, you know what I mean? It's got the same ambiguous Death Note quality that I really love, which I guess might make a little bit of sense, as it came from the same director, different writers though, but maybe he just likes these kind of stories too, I don't know. But anyway, on to the second possibility. So if Jean doesn't shoot Falco, then what else could happen? Are they all gonna stop and have a little chat? Probably not. Although it would be interesting to see Magath and Jean have a confrontation. Magath and Jean are both really smart characters, and I can see Magath trying to level with or reason with Jean. And I can also see Jean being reciprocative to that. Remember, before Magath became the general of the Marleyan army, he was in charge of training and commanding the warrior unit. And it's shown that Captain Magath seems to have some sympathy for the Eldians. So I think it would be really interesting to see what Magath has to say to the people of Paradis. Maybe he'll try to convince them to stop their attack. Maybe he'll try to appeal to them in some way that might actually change the outcome of this battle. Or maybe he'll just try to convince Jean to at least let the kids get out of there before they continue their assault. Although I highly doubt that someone is not gonna get hurt in this confrontation. Okay guys, so on to number 3. This is the big one. Let's talk about the final possibility. The one everyone's been talking about. Could it be possible that Jean will be the one to die in the next chapter? Like I said, a lot of people have pointed out the parallels to a scene in the Uprising arc. In that scene, we've got a woman from the military police who comes down from the sky and tries to kill Jean, but Armin shoots her first. And don't forget guys, Gabby has a gun. If history is going to repeat itself in the same way, that means that Jean is taking the place of the military police lady, and Gabby is going to shoot him in order to save her friend, Falco. So could that be possible? Does that mean that Jean is going to get his head blown off by Gabby? That's definitely a possibility, but honestly, I can't really imagine Jean dying right now. In fact, I'd be pretty pissed off if he died right now. I mean, like I was saying before, talking about his character arc, we've just witnessed Jean blossom into this amazing, capable leader, and to have him die now, like we just got a glimpse of what he is capable of after having developed these skills over the past 4 years, leading his team, leading the squad. He's confident and capable and thoughtful, and he understands things. Like Marco said, he understands people. He cares about people, no matter who they are. And you need all those qualities to be a really great leader. So if Jean died right now, that would suck. That would really suck, because I want to see more of this. I want to see more of this post-time skip, badass, fancy-haired squad leader Jean. You know what I mean? Like, this is cool. This is awesome. So to have him die now, to me, would really just feel like Isayama was shortchanging his character. I feel like Jean has a lot of potential still in the story. I mean, he's been kind of the main character from the Survey Corps that we have been focusing on since they returned to the story. And I guess part of that reason could be because he is going to die, which would be messed up. I really hope he doesn't die. I really hope that doesn't happen. But there is one other possibility, and I think that this could be the most likely scenario. We have a situation where either Jean is going to be an evil bastard and kill a kid, or Jean is going to die himself. So it seems very likely that it's going to be one of these two possibilities, but could there be another option? I do think there is a reason Gabby is there with that rifle. She's got that thing to do something with, something important, so somebody's gonna catch a bullet. And right now, Jean is about to kill her last surviving friend, so there is no way she's not going to use that right now. There is no way she's just gonna sit back and watch that happen. So I definitely believe she's gonna use that rifle against Jean. However, I don't think Jean's going to die. Like I said, it's way too early for Jean to die right now. Do not let that happen! I think it's far more likely that we are going to see our first main character finally get injured in this battle. I think Falco running in front of Pike is going to cause Jean to hesitate just enough for Gabby to shoot him out of the sky before he has the chance to pull his own trigger. But I think that she's only going to incapacitate him, not kill him. And this whole scenario is really interesting because, again, calling back to the Uprising arc, there's a great scene when the squad are all camping out in a barn in the woods, sitting around a small fire. This is also another great moment for Jean's character development, and not to mention ARMIN'S. And in fact, we're going to revisit this scene in my next video when we talk about ARMIN. But for now, during this conversation, Levi makes it very clear that you cannot hesitate when you're put in a position where you have to protect yourself or your own. He tells Armin that he did the right thing by killing that woman, because if he hadn't done that, Jean wouldn't be sitting there with him right now. He also tells them not to regret their decisions, because that regret will cause them to second guess themselves and make it harder to make those important decisions in the future. To which Jean told him, despite disagreeing with him in the past, he now realizes that Levi was right. So Jean learned a very important lesson in that moment, and I do think that he took that to heart. The interesting thing is this is probably one of the only scenarios that would cause Jean to hesitate, and it's a very fitting moment for Jean's character. It feels kind of like the situation Levi was put in during the Serum Bowl, and Armin's decision not long before that to sacrifice himself so Eren could get the Colossal Titan. Each character has these really great pivotal moments that really humanize them and develop them into really interesting people, and I think that that's a big part of what makes this story so good, is the fact that the characters are so good. Even the supporting characters are so good. But because Jean is faced with potentially having to kill a child with his own trigger, this could definitely lead to Jean getting distracted just long enough for the tide to turn. After all, if the Marley kill or incapacitate Jean, Jean's the leader. So that's gonna create a big problem. And Levi can't do it because he's off like throwing bombs in people's napes and cool stuff like that. But like I said, I don't think Jean will die immediately, but he could die later on, from the wound or something else. What I would really like to see is if Jean does get shot, that he's not hurt so badly that he can't have a conversation with Magath. Like I said, I really want these two characters to talk to each other. I really want to say what Magath would say to the people on Paradis, and what Jean would say back. It just seems like this is a moment that Isayama would take to further the confrontation on an emotional level. We gotta see what all these characters are thinking and feeling right now. I want to see what they'll do and what they'll say when they get up face to face. The next chapter is going to be really interesting. So, yeah, that's what I hope is going to happen. I really hope Jean doesn't die. I really hope Falco doesn't die. If either one of them die, I'm gonna be really, really sad. And, I think I might barf. But that's okay. I'm used to it by now. Alright guys, so what do you guys think about this? Do you think that Jean's really gonna die in the next chapter? Do you think Falco's gonna die? Or do you think this scenario that I proposed might actually happen? Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. And be sure to come back for part 2, where we will be discussing Armin and his decision to use the nuke. What exactly led up to this scenario? How did Armin get talked into doing this? Or did he choose to do it on his own merits for the sake of Paradis? And weren't Eren and Armin supposed to have some kind of disagreement? Obviously, it wasn't about the initial attack like I thought it would be. So, what else could it be? We'll talk about that next week. So don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss it. And, pray for this horse-faced bastard.
We don't know what is for tonight. Everybody's got no place to hide. No one's left and there's no one to go on. All I know is my life is
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to like, share, comment, and of course subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and check out my Patreon if you want to help support this channel. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.